An NHL team asks for extensive medical records on Mark Stone. That, according to Elliot Friedman and 32 Thoughts, and everything checked out with the VGK captain. We'll get into that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights.
Your Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi, everyone. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. And of course, you could find us wherever you get your podcast and go to the YouTube channel. Please subscribe, Locked On Golden Knights. And as always, on Twitter, all the comedy, all the drama, we capture it all. All of Chris Golick's new articles that he wrote. Yes. Everything's there. Right there at Locked On VGK, at Tony Dasco, at TD Chris G. And so, Chris, on Monday, Elliot Friedman on 32 Thoughts tells a story about Mark Stone and that a team, we don't know who that team is, complained about Stone being on LTIR and comes back as Stone is battling a legitimate back injury, had that second surgery. I joked around. I called him Mark Stowe on the show. I'm sure that I started this investigation, but the NHL now considers it, Chris, to be legitimate, and it was a team that went to the NHL, but this time they took a lot of these allegations serious, and they went and did a deep dive, and they went into Stone's medical records to make sure that he actually had a surgery. That's teeter-tottering on some area that maybe perhaps you shouldn't dive into. But the NHL took the allegation serious. And then, of course, it came back that Mark Stone does have a really bad back. And something else that Friedman said really stuck out, that the team said that Stone, they figure, will be in and out that of the lineup, in and out of the lineup moving forward into the 23-24 season.
So let's acknowledge reality here. Mark Stone in the late winter misses a lot of time leading up to the playoffs the previous season. And then, very coincidentally comes back in the playoffs for the season, has a great run. VGK wins the cup, yada, yada. The reality is the optics of that look terrible. I have tweeted that I felt there was some level of cooking the books, maybe a circumvention. Like, my question about Mark Stone's situation is not if he has a healthy back or not. Let's be clear about this. His back is screwed. His back is screwed from however many years of contact and hockey and everything else, and hoisting the cup. That's not helping either. Of course, yeah, he's got to stop doing that. But could Mark Stone have come back before the playoffs, I think, is the question that needs to be asked, which would have put a big wrench into the salary situation for the Vegas Golden Knights, mainly Barbashev and all the other acquisitions. I know there's reports that the 20 players on the ice have been cap compliant. Sure, but that's not how the salary works. You have to factor all the players who are on NHL contracts. So I will give it a fair grade for people that are concerned about the timing of Mark Stone and waiting till the playoffs to come back. Now, moving forward here, somebody complained. Someone blew the whistle. Someone wanted to see the records. Per Elliot Friedman, the NHL did what he said was an extensive investigation. They went hard. Again, Elliot Friedman's words. They went hard at the Vegas Golden Knights. They pulled the medical records. They pulled the surgeries. Whatever it happens, the NHL checked those boxes to make sure everything was on the up and up as far as they are concerned. The interesting thing is another team, if I read his comments right, another team is the one who made a statement about this is a situation where, they were told that Mark Stone has what's going to be a reoccurring issue. The verbiage was a little bit strange. So I feel like there's at least two teams that have come forward and identified themselves as hi, timeout. There's a problem here. I want some type.
I actually thought, Chris, too, that other teams had previously complained about this, but they finally decided to go in and unearth all of the medical records.
Yeah, but Vegas was irrelevant last year as far as, being a team. So I don't know how many teams actually cared, to be quite frank about it. And then obviously this season, Vegas is right around the top of the division. Mark Stone goes down, and insert Naked Gun gif where everyone hits their head when Leslie Nielsen and the bad guy are pointing the gun, whatever. Just go watch the movie. So, yeah, I'm curious who this team is. I think that would be a fun line to set.
Again, here's the NHL at its lowest point ever, because if somebody in another sport lodges a formal complaint, we know who that team is.
Do we?
90% of the
Do we? I don't know. I honestly don't know.
I think the NFL is more transparent than this. I'd have to maybe guess the NBA. We would find out who would make a complaint such as this, and all these other teams. And again, it could come back to jealousy against VGK. 90% of it, correct?
It's someone in the playoffs or someone that we face. It's either someone in our division or someone we face down the stretch.
Yeah, it's
no
interesting.
Doubt. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
But this is something that do they do this frequently? I don't think so. I don't think the NHL does a deep dive. And these are the NHL rules, folks, about the LTIR. And of course, Tampa circumvented the rules first in a very good way, strong way, that led them to the Cups, right? And so now VGK uses that model, and other teams can as well, because those are the rules, and that's the way that they are printed up. And now everyone's going to come at VGK, and the Golden Knights are going to have a target on their back consistently next season.
No pun intended about the target on Mark Stone's back, but keep going. I'll jump in a second.
If you think, if we think that was just the tip of the iceberg, if you think that Edmonton with the cross checks, if that's not going to happen again, are you kidding me? Next season, that they're going to consistently and continually do that to Mark Stone and the rest of this team. Yeah,
as they should. That's the game, and the Golden Knights are going to give it right back, and so on and so forth. So the Blackhawks are actually the first notable team to kind of have this happen. Patrick Kane had injury late in the season and basically came back, I think, game 2 of the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken. And the Blackhawks literally spent to like within $1,000 or something of the available cap space. Like, it was the Golden Knights. We joked like 1,800 away from the cap or something at one point this season.
They were.
The Blackhawks might have been even closer than that. So this is more the Blackhawks model, where Tampa just parked Kucherov, I believe, for the entire season. As far as like recent cap circumvention stories, I had to dig a little bit here because someone made a New Jersey Devils fan hit me on Twitter. They're like, this isn't fair. New Jersey got the book thrown at them, and why not the Golden Knights? And I'm like, what the heck did New Jersey do? And this goes back to the deal with Ilya. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank now. Stage fright. Dang it.
Okay.
There's a Devils player. I will pull it up while we're talking here, where he got like a 17-year contract. It was literally a 17 crazy long contract. I'm going to look this right now. It's Ilya Kovalchuk. There it is. Ilya Kovalchuk. So his contract, if I can pull this up now, 15 years, 15-year contract. So that's the 401k contract. He is not playing that contract out. Now, I don't know how the contracts worked like 12, 15, 18 years ago, where I don't know what to do with my hands right now, by the way. Folks, okay, I haven't watched Talladega Nights in decades. I'm sorry, guys. But thank you all for calling me out. It was funny. I just thought Aiden Hill was crazy drunk, and he was just crazy drunk while doing.
And he was crazy drunk. He was definitely crazy drunk. But he did wear the LJ jersey. So, so is this going to set a new tone in the National Hockey League for when a player is on LTIR? Can you just ask for medical records?
I think it's fair.
Can you just ask for an investigation like that?
You should be able to. I think that's no different, folks, than if you walk into a casino here in Las Vegas and you feel you weren't treated properly, where you're playing blackjack and the dealer miscounted or something, they didn't pay you and you need to call gaming or something like that to have an investigation, or if you're rolling craps, whatever, it doesn't matter what the situation is, that clarity and transparency should always be available. And that's why you have a governing body. That's why you have a collective bargaining agreement. That's why you have rules. And something else to point out, I think Elliot Friedman said this, if I'm not mistaken, the current salary cap rules are something that it was on the HL network. It's something that all the teams have to agree on. 30 of the 32 teams were supportive of this type of salary cap model that loosens up in the playoffs, because every team wants that parachute where if their star player does go out down the stretch, they got a chance. And let's just pretend for a second that, Mark Stone was going to miss, longer, right? The Golden Knights would have had a much harder path to advancing for the first two couple of rounds. So if I'm the GM, I want to have that opportunity to improve my roster. And, once the salary cap, turns off, then all bets are off, so be it. So at the end of the day, all the fans, that are complaining about the Golden Knights, there's now an investigation that says Mark Stone and the Golden Knights didn't do anything wrong. So that's important. I think this just broke today. This is going to, there'll be a lot more of this surrounding on Tuesday's news day. And number two, if you got a problem with the way your GM and your owner runs the league, don't go complaining about how the Golden Knights won the cup because of injuries. Email your GM, tell them tell them what you don't like what they're doing. Like, you have a voice, use it, but use it in the right place.
And Elliot Friedman also, at the end of his comments, said that VGK believes that the second surgery will be the one that solves Stone's back issues, but we're not quite sure about
But in
that.
the same comment, so he also said right before that VGK, that he's going to have like
he's going to be in and out.
Yeah. So I'm curious how that's something. I don't do it with my hands still. I never use my hands as much in a show until right now, by the way. I can't stop doing it. Now I'm going to chain them down. So take us to the next segment, Tony.
What VGK players can have breakout seasons under Bruce Cassidy in year number 2 in Las Vegas? We'll talk about that. It's back to business for myself and Chris, and for the Vegas Golden Knights. And we'll talk about that when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. For a championship team, it's all about making sure that every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time that you need parts and accessories, head over to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can make sure that every part that you need fits just right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and then look for the green check to know that it is the perfect fit. If not, you will receive your money back, because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time at all. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, the right pieces on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. We are back on Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. And you could find us on YouTube, Locked On Golden Knights. And please subscribe there. And if you have a chance, of course, tune in and download on the podcast, wherever you get your podcast. And again, on Twitter at Locked On VGK, at Tony Dasco, at TD Chris G. So, Chris, now that they've swept up most of that confetti on the strip, it's time to get this season into the off-season topics, the important ones. And we want to talk today about VGK players that we feel could have breakout seasons in the 2023-24 campaign. Who are some of the names on your list? And let me guess from the top, you're going to say Pavel Dorofeyev. That's how Cassidy pronounced
he's my second.
Okay, is this like Family Feud? Ding.
Yeah, no, it's second, and I'm going to start with Paul Cotter. Paul Cotter, and I'm kind of thinking from the mindset, should Ivan Barbashev not come back to the Golden Knights? And kind of my mindset is, who is going to take that role? Paul Cotter, like Barbashev, can hit. He's got a great reverse hit, and he can score from the dirty areas. He can also snipe really well, drive the net like a Will Carrier with a little better finishing touch. Cotter found himself in and out of the lineup. I think he played all 4 lines. He was up on line 1 with Jack Eichel for a while. And, he's young. He's a rookie. He's just, finding his game. At his peak, he did get 30 in the AHL. He did get 34 points in 59 games for the Silver Knights, a bad Silver Knights team. So Cotter can really take a step forward, I think. There should be a little less crowding just from some general roster attrition, if you will, because there will be changes to this roster. Some new players may come in, but I really think someone like Paul Cotter is going to take the knowledge from, he learned in 55 games. I'm sure he's worked his butt off in every single practice from his last time he was a scratch all through the playoffs. Had he had a chance come playoff time, dude would have looked good. I think he would have come shot out of a cannon. Now I will go to Dorofeyev, who definitely is a little more, a little better of a scoring option, I think. But, looking at what he did, 52 points, 27 goals with the Silver Knights. That's pretty solid. Not quite a point per game basis. It was 63 games. Dorofeyev really came on late, 9 points, 18 games down the stretch for the Golden Knights. And under any other circumstance that doesn't include Mark Stone and Will Carrier coming back, Dorofeyev stays on this roster and probably has a good playoff run. Dorofeyev has taken some major strides forward. Gary Lawless called this early in the season that we were going to hear from Dorofeyev. I think I've said his name 3 different times, the last 3 different times I've said it, by the way. Dorofeyev, and whatever you said a second ago. But point being is Dorofeyev is ready to take a major step forward, as is Paul Cotter. And that might be a real good competition to watch between those two.
Cassidy slipped a little bit in a couple of pressers.
He was dancing? Oh.
Dude, the South Beach Bruce dance is the best
good.
dance on the planet.
That was
and
good.
People were going bananas about that when we posted that.
That was good.
But he slipped and he mentioned a name. And this is making me think that something is going to happen with the 6th defenseman, Caden Korczak. He mentioned Korczak's name as someone that is on the radar. Now, correct me if I'm wrong.
Korczak looked good. He looked good.
Didn't he get injured though this season?
He did.
He did
have an injury.
Okay.
He also hurt himself, I think, with Henderson at some point. Was gone for a while, but could have come back in the playoffs if he would.
That's what I thought. And he played in 50 AHL games, 10 games with VGK. He got a really good look. I think if he weren't injured, perhaps he might have stuck with the NHL team for a while. Great size. He's like 6'3".
He passes the eye test. He passes the eye test.
And they're going towards this under Cassidy. I think that the trend will be with bigger and tougher defensemen moving forward. And I don't know. I still feel perhaps that Alec Martinez could be expendable. I just feel like something could happen with the defenseman.
Yeah, I mean, the defense isn't getting any younger. Definitely the defense is not getting any younger. And you look at what we have knocking on the door, starting with Korczak. Pahal played great back there. Pahal looked good back there.
Here's my knock. Well, so he's a free agent, correct?
Which one?
Pahal.
I believe so. Either UFA or RFA. But okay, so they're going to get him cheap if they want to re-sign him.
But every time I've watched this guy, he makes like stupid mistakes and penalties. Unnecessary. He's 90 minutes in the AHL and penalties this past season. Played in the Winnipeg game, the one game.
He had a lot of fights. He's got to have a lot of fights, probably.
8 penalty minutes in 10 VGK games, and that's something that they're going to have to really just make sure. You don't want him. You don't want him in the box. He's not going to be effective.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to get some time, obviously, and to develop still a little bit more. But outside, you still got Ben Hutton, who is probably the 7th defenseman of the year, if there was such an award. Miramonov, someone who has a nice scoring touch. Unfortunately, he's having a hard time staying healthy right now. And I don't know the nature of his injury, but I saw him in a scooter a couple times when I was working the VGK games. Didn't look even close to coming back. And then he did come back, and there's no video of this that I'm aware of. But he suffered an injury that took a long time to get him off the ice. I don't think we're like talking like a head or a stretcher situation, but lower body. I'm throwing things out there, but I know it wasn't that type of an injury, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So it's unfortunate for him. Such a good guy, such a fun guy to watch. He's very great with kids, the way he interacts and everything. And he's just someone you have to root for. I mean, I still remember they asked him after he scored. I think Ashley Weiss asked, "What are you going to tell your parents? When you scored your first goal?" And just ear to ear smile. We did it. Like it gave me chills.
Okay, that's better than what's for breakfast. That's a good question, I guess.
Or this effing guy.
This effing guy. Does Keegan Colasar? To me, the thought is that I just got this feeling late in the season and in the playoffs, he started to get more confident, I thought, and was a better contributor. And of course, I absolutely loved the quote. I really like it when these opponents like hate us. This is great. Like when
he knows when he's microphoned, he knows when he's got that marketing chance.
But that was awesome.
It was.
So I have Keegan Colasar as maybe a dark horse to step things up. And then if they could re-sign Brett Howden, of course, of the Brett Howden line, I think, but there's no assurance he's going to be back. But if he is, there's a guy that's so scrappy. I don't know how else to define him.
Yeah, I mean, Brett Howden, and again, I think he can play on all four lines comfortably. He can play center, he can play wing, and it's very important that we have all these interchangeable pieces because Lord knows what this team has gone through the last 2 years as far as injuries go and the goalies and what happened the previous season when the team missed the playoffs. So, I mean, Howden, I think he was pretty healthy most of the year without having the numbers directly in front of me. Most of the games he missed, I think, were via scratch, if I'm not mistaken. A great guy to have on the roster and, just filling those tough line three, plugs, if you will, that how many times we talk about line three being our concern, our area of opportunity. And then, oh yeah, now it's Brett Howden, Stevenson, and Stone. We're cool. We got line three handled, guys.
It's so funny though, because again, like I did a podcast over the weekend that was released on Monday, and everyone seems to associate that third line as the Carlson line, which I find because, they did talk a lot about that during the playoffs, but then again, that was the ESPN coverage. So you just take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I'm done with it. Yeah, we got that. That's the down thing. Now we're doing the countdown until ESPN gets hockey again. Like the coolest thing about an ESPN broadcast is the song, and then it sucks after that. I don't know how else to say it. Yeah. The song, like when I first heard that last year, it gave me chills to hear that again, and then like they started talking.
Yeah, big letdown.
And they got so many good names, but geez, I don't know.
Back to back, what are the odds for VGK to repeat? We'll talk about that when we return right here. Locked On Golden Knights.
Sorry.
Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick, who's been working too much.
That's fair.
And we appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget Fridays are WTF, What the Friday. And Chris, I did post a photo of the guys.
Oh, I saw that.
They were at Wet Republic on Sunday, and they sell these big boats of tater tots. That's what stood out. So there's a Stanley Cup. Well, they call them boats of tater tots that go for $500 each out there at the pool.
That's awesome.
It was funny. So did Kessel even talk at the celebration? Because I missed that, or maybe
he had an interview on the ice.
Maybe the audio cut out at the celebration.
No, Kessel. No, he's not that guy. But he did talk on I don't know, it was Sportsnet or whoever was on the ice during the celebration.
Yeah, I saw that.
And he did mention he feels young and wants to keep going.
Oh boy,
it's not going to be.
No, that's not going to happen. Someone
will sign him. Someone will definitely sign him.
Yeah, as we take a look at the FanDuel odds on who is favored for the Stanley Cup for the 2024 Cup final. The favorite currently, surprisingly, like typically, and especially VGK having a lot of these pieces back, right? VGK is not the favorite. Currently, it's the Colorado Avalanche at plus 800. And then you've got Toronto and Edmonton plus 1,100. I think
that's funny.
I think Edmonton blew the whistle. And then there's 5 teams at plus 1,300, including VGK, and Boston, the Devils, Carolina, and Tampa. Is VGK being overlooked?
So first of all, locally, the odds are you're giving up a lot more juice. So definitely bet with FanDuel if you can. Don't bet locally in Vegas because you're at 600 for Colorado and 650 for Vegas. So the
Interesting.
same.
Yeah, these are the updated
It's
odds
all
today.
liability, and locally you may get a little more VGK play, but whatever. So the question was, is Vegas being overlooked? And I mean, they're second favorite coming in. It's fine. It's hard to repeat. I mean, what, Tampa and then Detroit are the last teams to double up, if I'm not mistaken. And then obviously I always joke with Gil, how the Islanders won 4 of these things in a row in the 70s and 80s. I mean, how does that even happen? That's nuts.
I was a kid, and of course, as a Rangers fan, which someone pointed out,
that had to hurt.
Oh, it was awful. But
where'd the towel go? Your towel's gone. Where'd your towel go?
It fell off, man.
Well,
I just
that's going to be a
put it up
meeting
there with
tomorrow.
tape.
You're going to get a meeting request for that.
Oh no, because I had a backdrop over my shoulder. That was kind of cool. But yeah, so and another thing too. Okay, the NHL awards are coming up, and VGK gets squat. There was not even any recognition. I thought Cassidy should have been a Jack Adams candidate. He should have been one of the final 3. Even at the point where that came out, I was like, how could that be?
Was it Maurice Montgomery? Who was the third?
Maurice Montgomery. Was it DeBoer? No. Was it?
God, I hope not.
Yeah,
I felt that Cassidy should have been in the 3 hole, whatever it was. And Montgomery, because you base it off regular season, so give Montgomery the credit. I mean, obviously after that, it's a different story. But Montgomery
VGK led almost a wire job in the Pacific Division.
He should have been third. He definitely should have
gotten some recognition. And after they saw the dance, they tried to add him on late.
That I heard about
South
that.
Beach
yeah,
Bruce.
I heard about that. And then obviously we can go about McCrimmon, same deal. What Zito, I think, is the Florida's GM's name, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Was it Zito and then the Bruins GM? I don't understand how the Bruins GM got, because it's the same team. Like, it's literally the same team. Did they give it to him because they fired Cassidy? That backfired, by the way. Right. But same deal. I felt he should have been a nominee, but maybe not won it. I mean, I think the Florida GM did a remarkable job at retooling that roster quickly, and then obviously the run that they went on down the end. But I mean, VGK got enough love, right? They got a lot of love in season 1 as far as NHL awards go. It got them second place. They're getting the screw job now, and it's okay. They're eating $500 tater tot bowls out of the Stanley Cup, apparently.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I think
I bet they ate him out of the cup.
They eventually probably made their way into the cup. But those big
$500, they better do
Kessel
something.
And Stone, they have the cigars going. It's great. It's just fun. It's going to be a fun summer with that 100-day tour, following the cup around.
I can't wait to go to the first practice, watch the guys puking their guts out.
Do you think that perhaps they will put a schedule out of where, the cup might be? I've never seen one before.
I don't think so, unless there's local
team
stuff.
Internally?
Speaking of the cup, I'm really hoping that it's going to be at Paint the Ice tomorrow. I'm really hoping it's going to be there. If the cup is not
tomorrow,
at
you're meaning Tuesday. You get your
Tuesday tonight.
Okay, you're
tonight. Tuesday. We're recording on Monday night, folks. So
yeah.
I'm hoping on Tuesday.
You're
night
challenged in that area.
Area of
figuring
opportunity.
Out the next day.
I can't figure out now. You want me to figure out tomorrow? Come on.
So Tuesday.
My mind is as bland as your wall when it comes to figuring out what time and what day it is.
I know. I've like this minimalistic approach here. They were talking on Elliot Friedman, though, too. I thought it was kind of funny when they were talking about Carlson and when he was with the Ducks, and you do this introductory thing where you go up there and like, I'm William Carlson and I like to party. That's what he said. Like, you tell us a little bit about yourself.
That's awesome.
William. The ABBA music, man, that set me off for sure.
Listen, this team has a fun identity. They got chemistry. They're close. There's a lot of things to like about the team and all the goofiness. And I mean, what was it? Gloria?
Gloria was St. Louis.
For the Blues. Like, I'm sure there's a story about that, but the way these things come together, it's fun. And it's just, it's fun. I don't know how else to say it. It's fun. And It's weird, and Vegas definitely does this a little bit differently. Although I was talking to Dan from Vegas Hockey Now, and I said, "Is this the drunkest rally like ever?" Period. And then he just sends me a picture of a Pittsburgh Penguin player passed out on a rooftop deck after their Stanley Cup. So we're doing pretty well, but that might have been a little better. They had a hangover moment before the movie Hangover existed.
I'm curious who in the division closes the gap with VGK. Edmonton obviously is the number one nemesis / challenger. Does Seattle make another step up? And the Kings, of course, the Kings are going to be good again.
Yeah, I just wonder if the Kings are running in place right now. They're not getting like Vegas, they're not getting any younger. It'll be curious to see what they do in the offseason. And that's a big key, right? I mean, Kopitar, starting there, Doughty, they got a great team, Fiala, but like Vegas, they're not getting any younger. Do they have, some up and coming players? I know like Fahimo, Brant Clark, Quentin Byfield, players like that might be ready. We'll kind of see what happens there. Seattle, you got to give some respect to because they did have a remarkable season. One game from making the conference final, one period from making the conference final. It was a pretty close, obviously, game 7 against Dallas. Anaheim's going to be better. The Sharks are irrelevant. I feel better when I say that. The Sharks are irrelevant.
And they're shopping Erik Karlsson right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to eat a good chunk of that salary and cough up an asset probably to make that deal happen. We'll see.
Yeah, so maybe they'll want to exchange Karlsson for another 4th rounder with VGK because they're not very smart.
Flames could close the gap a little bit especially if they get the right coach hire.
Right, exactly. I think so too. No, I think it's going to be really tight and very competitive. If we thought this past season was tight as far as the Pacific and the point totals and everything else.
Edmonton is the Buffalo Sabres. They're lipstick on a pig.
Oof.
Take away their power play.
Take away their coach.
Take away their power. No, take away their coach. They improve. Keep the coach.
Yeah, they get better.
Keep the coach. Better. They're the lipstick on a pig version of the Buffalo Sabres. I'm sorry. I love saying that. It feels good to say that as well. Until they learn how to play defense, until they learn how to score on something besides a power play, and until they get a goaltender that can do something, they're not going to be much of a threat. I'll say it happily.
Coming up on tomorrow's show, I think we could focus more on Adin Hill and what are the chances of VGK re-signing him.
Adin got bumped today.
He did get bumped because of Elliot Friedman. So we'll talk. At least we know what we're going to talk about for the next show. Wow. That's a step forward for us.
This is a step forward.
We appreciate everyone tuning in wherever you are at, anywhere. We definitely appreciate you. Make sure that you subscribe on the YouTube channel, Locked On Golden Knights, and of course, VGK on Twitter. You could find us there and wherever you get your podcast on Friday. We'll be back, of course, with a typical feature, WTF, What the Friday. And we appreciate everyone, especially the everydayers that are tuning in each and every day. For my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco from Las Vegas. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights.